Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Locked On Bulls. On today's episode, we'll be talking about the Bleacher Report's article that gave the Bulls a offseason grade of D. We'll also talk about Coby White trade ideas coming from Bleacher Report as well. Bleacher Report is getting way too much shine on this episode. And then we'll end the show discussing the Bulls' best role players ever. We'll get into all that and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily podcast on the Chicago Bulls, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. That's Pat, the designer, host, and creator of the Windy City Breeze. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central, and we are about to jump into some Bulls content. First of all, the Bulls got an offseason grade of D from Bleacher Report in this article. Now, and the one thing that kind of stood out in this article that frustrated me a little, like, you can't lead off an article saying, "Oh, I forgot the Bulls had an offseason." Hey, listen, I got some choice words. You guys can go over to Chicago Bulls Central to hear how I really feel about this article. But here, we'll button it up a little bit. We'll actually break it down. Pat, what do you think about the Bulls getting an offseason grade of D?
Well, I mean, it's interesting in the article because it's like he phrased it as if, right, the Chicago Bulls did nothing this offseason. They basically just brought in Andre Drummond and Goran Dragic, which just isn't true. He does mention that they signed Zach LaVine, but signing Zach LaVine is a huge part of this offseason for the Chicago Bulls, right? Like that's the biggest part of this offseason for the Chicago Bulls, getting the guy back here that could be a 27-5-5 guy, if not better, especially with that new rule change on the take foul, right? Like he might be at the free throw line quite a bit. So yeah. I think that you have to put a lot of weight on the fact that you got Zach LaVine back in the building, and that the Chicago Bulls were ravaged with injury last season. You know what it is though? It sounds like somebody who probably didn't really tune into what was going on with the Bulls last season, which happens a lot in the national media, which is fine, right? Like the Bulls just got good, but when you make these like grandiose statements and you're not focusing in on the fact that what did the Bulls need most? Oh, they needed rebounding and interior defense. Andre Drummond definitely addresses that. Is he the best player to address that? Nah, I'd have rather had Rudy Gobert, but we didn't get that. And Andre Drummond's a heck of a backup for $3 million. And then on top of that, you go out and get Dragic. Now, Dragic, okay, I'm not saying that that's an end-all, be-all move. I actually hope we don't see him play a ton, right? Like, I want that to be super insurance. Like, if we get to this point, but he think he playing 25 minutes. So, I'm fine with it, right? I feel like if I was gonna grade the Bulls off season, I wouldn't go a high, like a A or a B, but I'd go B minus to a C, right? Because you have to put a lot of weight on the fact that they brought back the most coveted free agent this offseason.
And you didn't take any interviews with teams. The way that I look at the Bulls offseason is this, right? Is that and first of all, this article was written by Brian Kalbrowski.
Yeah, we'll give him his credit.
Yeah, get his credit on that. But with looking at the Bulls offseason, like you said, we did bring back Zach LaVine on the max level deal. Even if you think that was academic because we came into this offseason that everyone expecting Zach LaVine to re-sign. Some of the comments, things like that over the course of the season, the offseason, led it to some people to believe that maybe Zach may be open to leaving. He ends up staying here, not taking meetings, things like that. But when you look at the additions of Andre Drummond, Goran Dragic, which is really the only two outside of Dalen Terry's. Well, now he does go on to say that he is very high on the Bulls picking Dalen Terry. But I would give the Bulls a C minus in the offseason just because they didn't make the type of splash moves that some of us had expected. But at the end of the day, it's about what dividends does it pay on the basketball court. Sometimes I think as fans, as pundits, as writers, we all get caught up in the flash of it, right? And sometimes it's just about, hey, what does this do for your team on the court? And with the Bulls betting on continuity, betting on health, have they done or will they do enough to stay where they are, maybe make a leap? We'll see what the progression does. But to me, giving the Bulls a D offseason grade is like a team that got worse. The Bulls didn't get worse. Even if you think they stayed the same, which is, I think, at the bare minimum, what they did, they stayed the same. To me, you got to give that a C minus, bro. Like I said, no, they didn't make the flashy type moves. Maybe they don't need it when it's all said and done. We'll see it. We didn't see Marko Simonovic at all last season, for real, outside of garbage time and getting dunked on. So like, if he comes in and is ready to contribute this season, that is an addition to this team. So yeah, they didn't have the flashy offseason that some of us wanted, some of us expected them to do. But then when you take a look at why they didn't do that, and I've talked about this over on Chicago Bulls Central very heavily, looking at it, right, and I thought the Bulls were going to make that move. They had a $10 million exception, but really looking at it, the Bulls can have $20 million in true cap space next season on top of a $10 million exception again. That's your season to make some considerable moves. Now, if they don't make any considerable changes and the season doesn't end favorably for the Bulls this season, all right, then it may be time to get your pitchforks out and start rioting. But until then, it's like, you got to understand when and why and how. When you spend the money is almost as important as spending the money, because if you hard cap yourself too early, you limit yourself from a deal. But yeah, the Bulls didn't make the flashy moves, but they still may have considerably improved this team. Everybody's talking about rim protection. And the way that they talk about that is shot blocking. That's not you know what else rim protection is? Stop them from getting to the rim. Guess what Andre Drummond does? He stops people from getting to. Now, last season, the penetration percentage wasn't the best, I will admit. But typically in his career, he stops people from getting to the rim.
You got to look at the splits on that. Philly wasn't bad. Brooklyn was bad. Brooklyn got bad. Brooklyn got ugly. I'm not gonna lie to you, but I don't know, man. Like, for me, this offseason, when I'm breaking it down, right, there's so much to the fact that, and maybe it's because, right, I'm taking Bulls history into account, right? Like, we lose these guys. We don't get the Zach LaVines to re-sign in Chicago. That's not what the Chicago Bulls do. They end up trading these guys before their contract is up because they don't feel like they're good enough to get these guys back in Chicago. You know what I'm saying? So, like, the one major guy that we gave a max deal to that wanted to stay in Chicago was from Chicago. So, like, I just feel like there's a lot to be said, and maybe it's just how I'm looking at it, but there's a lot to be said on how far the Bulls have come in 2 years. The fact that they're getting guys in here that want to be here. And listen, they didn't have a lot of room to make a lot of moves. Now, I would have liked them to maybe go out and get a bowl or something like that. But listen, they're betting on, like you said, Marko Simonovic. They're betting on this Dalen Terry to make an impact. They're betting on a lot of factors adding to what you already had last season. And I can't be mad at them because, like, we all went into the offseason saying the same thing. The Bulls have to get bigger and they have to get better shooting. Mm-hmm. Can we say that this offseason the Bulls got bigger and they got better shooting the ball?
I can't say for sure they got better shooting the ball. I know the Dragic splits, but I can't say they got better shooting the ball. Now, did they get bigger? Absolutely. But I can't give them, just in fairness, I can't say that they've added enough shooting to where I can say that they did anything considerable with shooting.
I mean, was Gallo going to change our minds on that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like
Gallo, yes, he would have more because he's at a position of need. The reason why I can't give Dragic too much on it is I don't all that we already broke down that 20 to 25 minute promise is that if the Bulls are fully healthy, Dragic isn't going to play a lot on this team. Gallo, on the other hand, if everybody was fully healthy, still absolutely was going to have a role where he was going to get minutes on this team.
Well, I think Dragic is going to play. I don't know if he's going to play 25 minutes, or I hope he's not playing 25 minutes, but I think he's going to play. I don't think you bring him here to not play him.
I think you bring him here for depth, but I think if everybody's healthy and going like they should be, he's not going to be playing very well. Because listen, much as down as everybody is on Coby White, and while Gallo has for his career been a really good shooter, his shooting may be starting to go on a slide. We'll see with that. But he does not bring the scoring capability of a Coby White, and I don't think he doesn't change the way that other teams have to do. If Coby White is on, and that's the biggest thing, and we'll talk about that, is that he's just not on consistently enough. Yeah. But if Coby White is on, he makes Gallo unneeded on this team.
Dragic.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I did say Gallo. Yeah. He makes Dragic a complete non-factor on
which I'm fine with. Listen, he makes what, $2.6 million. It's okay with me, right? Like, if he don't play, my feelings ain't hurt. But it's just I just feel like, but even that, right? Like, even if it's literally just hey, you brought this guy in here to light a fire under Coby White. If it works, you got better shooting. You know what I'm saying? And if Dragic plays, I think Dragic still has a lot of game. Dragic made some bad decisions last year. I think that's all that happened. that man went to Toronto, thought he was going to be getting love out there. They was like, sit your butt on this bench. Then he was like, where am I going to go next? And they was like, sit your butt on this bench. You are 35.
That's why I say, like, yeah. So, I mean, I can't give the Bulls the shooting aspect yet. We'll see. But then even with that being said, like any situation that I see Dragic playing in, like if Dalen Terry is ready, I also think you have to play him above Dragic, and he's not the shooter at all, unless that's a part of his game that comes along over the course of the season. But like I said, I'm not down on the Dragic signing. I look at Dragic signing as he's a better Matt Thomas coming off the bench.
I would agree with that.
So that's how I look at it.
About the same defensive metrics as well.
Yeah,
Dragic, I can't do that.
Dragic is better.
Dragic is better.
Matt
Thomas
couldn't guard my dog, bro. Like Matt Thomas could not guard my dog.
Hey, but he tried so hard. I respected Matt.
He was always in position. It wasn't a lack of effort thing. It was a lack of skill. But all right, next up, we're gonna get into some Coby White trade ideas that also come from Bleacher Report. But first, got to talk to you guys about BetOnline. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. You know, I didn't even know that you can bet on golf until we started doing these ad reads. Nonetheless, BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering information, from live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts that have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use the mobile device to learn more about the actions happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts. All right, Pat. So, you know, I said it before and I labeled this was going to be the summer of Zach LaVine trade ideas. Zach LaVine signed, locked in. Guess what's going to happen for the rest of the summer? Matter of fact, for the rest of the season, until the trade deadline, we are going to be inundated with a number of Coby White trade ideas. It's just going to keep happening, bro. Until he's either moved, whatever happens, it's going to just be.
It's gonna be hilarious, too, because I actually think Coby, with a training camp, is going to play well this season. And it's going to be like, he finally getting that trade value up. You got to move him now. You got to move him now.
You know, Bulls fans are so locked in on trading. Like, Coby White can come in and average 18.9 points off the bench on 50% true shooting, and people will be like, oh, we got to get the trade value up. And then at that point, I'll be looking like, all right, who we going to get that's giving us this output? Just let me know who we going to get. Who we going to get in here?
Trade him right now for Jakob Poeltl in a second. I would feel good about that.
What? But we have 3 trade ideas that came from Bleacher Report in this one, brother. The first one up, the Bulls send Coby White to the Dallas Mavericks and get Josh Green and 2 second-round picks. Now, if we were to trade with the Mavs, this is not the trade I would want. I would want Maxi Kleber in some shape, form, or fashion. But Josh Green, 2 seconds. What do you make of this trade?
I like the 2 seconds. I said this in the video that I dropped yesterday. I like the 2 seconds because we've seen AK do some pretty good things with second-round picks in this draft. It seems like Marko Simonovic at a minimum is going to become a decent bench player for us. Hopefully that does pan out. Ayo Dosunmu has shown early in his career that he's a really good second-round pick, right? So you're talking about 2 years where we kind of feel good about 2 second-round picks. And I like the 2 second-round picks. It puts a lot of pressure on AK to hit on those second-round picks if you made a deal like this. But to me, Josh Green, like, you're still talking about a future move in that situation, right? Like, you're not talking about this is going to help the team right now. And if you're trading Coby White, I feel like you need something that's going to help the Bulls right now. And this move doesn't do it to me. I would say no to this trade.
Yeah, this trade doesn't do nothing for me. So let's move on to the next one. Let's move on. That's all I got to say. I'm not even going to spend a lot of time on it. I like dumb trade ideas. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. Like, don't get me wrong. I like Josh Green as a player. Let me be clear. Let me add a little bit more color to it. I really do like Josh Green as a player.
Really?
I really do. I think there's some potential there. I like his size. I like the versatility that he can possibly have, especially on the Chicago Bulls roster. You know, Billy Donovan's gonna look at him and be like, "Oh, I see you can play 3 or 4 positions. 4 positions. What's the 4th position? Small ball center. Right? Don't even worry about it." But it is what it is, man. But let's move into this next one. This one, we get rid of Coby White and Tony Bradley.
So it excites you.
To get rid of Tony Bradley, but you're getting Terrace Ross and a second round pick back. And see, this is the type of thing that lets me know that as Bulls fans, again, during when we're doing this trade, I'm probably not going to be as positive as Pat. Pat be coddling y'all. I don't care if you don't like me, whatever. Because Bulls fans will look at this deal and say, yes, get Terrence Ross. He can shoot the ball. He can do this. He can. Every one of his averages were worse than Coby White's last season,
and all time lows, right? Like,
come on.
It's not pretty. I'm not gonna coddle you on this. Now I will say this, right? Like if they made this deal, I would be like, I wouldn't be mad at it because again, you're getting a pick with it, and I can see Terrence Ross just being sick of being in Orlando.
I mean, yeah, but he resigned there when he could have left.
Yeah, like it's on him. No, it's on him 100%. But I could see him just being like, man, it don't matter no more. I'm not getting a ring down here. You know what I mean? So like honestly, right, with Paolo Banchero down there, I could see him having a better season this year just because he's working with somebody that also can play basketball and isn't a center. So I think that when you look at a Terrence Ross, there's some intrigue there. But for me, right, 10 points a game last season, which is one of his worst. Well, it's actually kind of his career average, but one of his lower seasons. 39.7% percent from the field, 29.2 from the 3-point line. I am good on a Terrence Ross. And here's the thing: on both of these deals, it's better to keep Coby White because right now you have a Coby White baseline value, and if he gets better, you can sign and trade him just like we did with Lauri Markkanen and get more back. Or he stays the same and you've still got that same baseline value that everybody was interested in, and you can do a sign and trade then.
And this is why I say, like, Bulls fans, like, and this is every fandom. Let me just not make this about Bulls fans. Every single fan base either overvalues or undervalues their own players, right? And in this one, Coby White is being highly undervalued because look at it. Terrence Ross's career averages are exactly what Coby gave. I just checked it. Yeah. Exactly what Coby gave you last season. So if Kobe's able to turn that into a career, look at what Terrence Ross got paid. So for that, let me go over again. Last season, career low for Terrence Ross, 39% shooting from the field, only 29% shooting from 3-point range. We know Coby White did better than that. This is what Terrence Ross's career averages are. 41% from the field, 36% from 3, 83% from free throw range, 2.8 rebounds per game, 1.3 assists per game, and 11.2 points per game. You know what Coby White's averages were last season? 41% from the field overall. 36. No, this is Coby White's career averages too. I'm sorry. 41% from the field, 36% from 3-point range, 85% from free throw range, 3.6 rebounds a game for his career, 3.5 assists per game for his career, and 13.7 points per game for his career. That's for Coby White, who hasn't had a clear and defined role. Anytime he's always bounced in the lineup, out of the lineup. Again, I'm not excusing Coby White for his inconsistencies. We know that Coby White is a very inconsistent player, and if he can be consistent, it changes a lot of what us as Bulls fans don't like about Coby. Yeah. But when people present trades for players that for their career give you less than what Coby White's given the Bulls in his Bulls career so far, it's like slow down, take a look at what you're presenting, and then look at it objectively. I think as Bulls fans,
31-year-old Coby White.
Yeah, you're trading a 31-year-old Coby White.
You're trading 23-year-old Coby White for, is he 23 yet? 22
right
Coby
now.
White.
He turns 23
for 31-year-old Coby White.
Yeah. Come on, people. We got to be better in the way that we evaluate these things. But see, that deal, non-starter for me as well. Let's get into this last deal. This one's with the Spurs. The Bulls will be sending Coby White and Marko Simonovic for Josh Richardson.
Get on the phone. If that deal's on the table, get on the phone. I don't know what Marco's going to be. Kobe's inconsistent. Josh Richardson can shoot 40+% from behind the 3-point line. Mm-hmm. Numbers didn't look as good in San Antonio. Kind of like, I think he shot also 40% from the field.
40% from field, 44% from 3-point range for
So
the Spurs last
not
season.
great from the field as a whole, but that 3-point shooting you like, and the defensive versatility on a guy like Josh Richardson. I love Josh Richardson is a AK guy, right? Like he's another guy that can stick his arms out there, and you can get Captain Carney in the building. You know what I mean? Like that's 3 episodes in a row we've dropped it. Like I mean. I would love to get Josh Richardson in here because at a minimum right now, the biggest problem is where you felt like, okay, we've got some size now. Now you've got to readdress your size issue. And I think that's kind of more where AK is looking at, right? Because he said in the in one of the offseason pressers that he had to address the size of the team because of how the Eastern Conference was built. There's a lot of big guys over here that are down low players. And so he had to address the size of the team. But I would love to get Josh Richardson in here because I just feel like he would bring defensive versatility. He'd be somebody that you could play at the 3, you could play at the 2, you could play at the not too much at the 1. Let me relax there. But at a minimum, the 2 and the 3, and he's going to bring a little more consistency at that position. Not giving you crazy different numbers, but just a different way of scoring.
For sure. I look at Josh Richardson as he is basically him and Coby White's measurables are almost the same, but he brings you a better defensive player. He brings a better 3-point shooting per percentage wise, right? So you look at the opportunities that would be created for him playing off players like DeMar DeRozan, like Zach LaVine, and then Lonzo once Lonzo does get healthy. And I look at the Josh Richardson trade idea, and this the only thing that I don't like in it is us giving up Marco before we really get a chance to look at Marco, because Marco's the type of player that will go to the Spurs and then they'll work on this game. Next thing you know, he's a star in this league. So I don't like the aspect of giving up Marco Simonovic in this deal because we haven't really gotten to see him on the NBA level yet. But again, sometimes to improve, you got to give up some things. And so this is a deal where I don't love, let me be clear here, I don't think that this is a deal that I would personally automatically say yes to. But if the Bulls did do this, I wouldn't hate it either.
I'd probably do this just because you're getting, for me, right, you're getting that guaranteed consistency of something. Like if Kobe's out there, he's got consistency issues on the offensive end. He's a 116 career player on the defensive end. So like while Coby White, I think, improved in moments, the moments he looked best defensively was when he was engaged on the offensive end. And it's too much. There
were games where Coby White absolutely, his weak side defense has proved that. Like I said, that 9-game winning streak or whatever we went on, Coby White won the Bulls with defensive plays about 3 or 4 of those games, but it wasn't consistent either. Like there's a player in Coby White that literally, if he gets to being consistent on either side, like you look at this, he can be a perennial 6th man of the year. But you can't keep wait. Like I would, if the Bulls were still halfway rebuilding, I would want to wait on that.
Yeah.
But I can understand now if he shows some things this season. I think, like I said before, if Coby White comes out firing on all cylinders this season, I think the Bulls do have to look at it and say, hey man, maybe we should keep this guy.
Yeah, and I know, and here's the thing, I know Muzz are going to be in the comments talking about more Coby White trades. Is the reason Coby White is being mentioned in these trades is because he's the one player you can move with value. Like we think Coby White is a valuable piece in a lot of these deals. So
yep.
I'm not sold on any of them. I don't know, but hey man, we got to get into one final topic. But before we do that, I got to ask you, which NFL stars move the betting line the most? Started on July 18th, Locked On is giving you your 50 most valuable players in the NFL from the odds makers at BetOnline. Available July 18th on Locked On NFL, wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube.
All right. Next up, last segment of the day, we're going to be talking about some of the best Bulls role players of all time, bro. This is going to be an interesting one because there are a lot of great Bulls role players when you look at it, bro. And by role players, some people look at saying a role player as a negative. Like a role player just means that a player that has a clear and distinct role. It doesn't mean bench players. That's a different thing. You can be a role player and still be a starter.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and get into the list. Pat, you got on your who's first up? Best Bulls
It's tough to say, but I have to keep him in the place that he was. But I got Joakim Noah starting my list.
See, I can't. Joakim was a star to me. I can't put Joakim in as a role player.
Joakim was a role player, brother.
Joakim Noah was not a role player.
Joakim was a role player. Listen, we love Joakim. We love Joakim. We love Joakim. He was absolutely a role player for the Chicago Bulls.
Bro,
and the reason
he was the second star on that team, bro. He was not a role. I can't give Joakim Noah a role player. Averages don't make him a role player. He got MVP votes, so does not make him a role player. He literally, to me, was a focal point of the Bulls' offense and defensive schemes. What Joakim was able to do passing wise, he was a focal. To me, you can't be a role player if you're a focal point of what that team does. Joe was a focal point of everything that Tom Thibodeau did.
Because our star got hurt.
No, even before. What do you mean? They still played off Joe even with. That's how Derrick Rose was able to get downhill so often. It wasn't just when Derrick Rose got hurt, brother.
Hey, I would view Joe as a role player, and I love Joakim. That Joakim's jersey is right there. I love Joakim. But I've always viewed Joe. I mean, he played a role for us. Yeah, I mean, he did a lot of things well. He got above that. Does get a defensive player of the year. But for me, he was always still right. Like the Bulls never had that second star. That's why we couldn't get there. That's why we couldn't get the job done. We had that guy that was the glue guy. We had the guy that was.
We couldn't get the job done because we didn't have a second consistent score, not a second star.
You needed stars, brother. We didn't have enough of them.
No, bro.
We didn't have enough of them.
I can't get with Joakim Noah being a role player. Let us know down below, by the way. What do you think? Do you agree that Joakim Noah is a role player? You know I'm clipping this out, right? This now has to be its own. Well, we got to talk about it. All right, so role players for me, we talked about this a little bit yesterday in our pre-planning for the show. Kirk Hinrich, for me, is one of the best Bulls role players of all time. When you look at like what Kirk was able to do defensively, the fact that he even changed his body at one point so he can play next to Derrick Rose after they lost Ben Gordon. Yeah. Like Kirk is what I think of when I think of what it means to be a tough player on the Chicago Bulls. Yeah, he left and came back. Did he leave and come back twice? No, he left and came back. But
him and Gennaro Pargo was always
Gennaro Pargo. It was like every other year. It was like, the Bulls have brought Gennaro Pargo back. But Kirk, to me, just like Kirk it just came from work, right? Kirk just put in the work, bro. He was such a tough player, and I think people don't realize how tough he was. Kirk Hinrich was 6'3", guarding threes at a point where positionless basketball wasn't a thing. He was guarding old school threes that were 6'7", 6'8", and holding his own. Like, I love Kirk Hinrich and what he brought to the team, and the fact that he was leading the team in for the franchise in 3-point shooting for a while, and what he did is like, come on, man. Kirk is amazing, bro.
I gotta love Kirk. Can't go wrong with Kirk. I mean, I think Kirk is like the prototypical go-to for every Bulls fan. Like, you just think of Bulls basketball, and you think of like Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Rose,
Noah, and then Kirk.
Noah, Kirk Hinrich.
Yeah,
sure. Like he just sneaks his way in there. Like, why is he such a staple? And like, you think about a lot of the records Zach LaVine has broken in his time as a Bull here.
But Kirk Hinrich, Ben Gordon record. Yeah. It's crazy. Next up, I gotta give it split because these two are like interchangeable for me. Steve Kerr and John Paxson.
Yeah. I don't know if they're interchangeable. That's tough.
I mean, it's not as far as like their role that they played on the team, but I mean, as far as if you're gonna list role players, I wouldn't be mad if you listed John Paxson above Kerr. I wouldn't be mad if you listed Steve Kerr above John Paxson because they both did their thing in their time with Chicago.
They won championships, brother. You can't go wrong with two dudes that are knocking down game winners and championships. And it's tough for me, right? Because like, this is why I hate when you like take one of my favorite players and like put him in the organization side, because I loved John Paxson. Like, John Paxson was the dude. Like, if you go back and watch like Paxson tape and stuff like that, like, it's not flashy, but he was always that dude that was like, I'm not just gonna fight over this screen. I'm gonna make sure you feel me going over this screen.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna make sure. You know what I'm saying? Like, it was like it was just one of them dudes that was like, he knocked down a game winner. You gotta love him. He did what he had to do, and then he destroyed my team for 12 years.
But I also got to give it to Steve Kerr too, because The fact that Steve Kerr got punched in the face by Michael Jordan and then said it helped our relationship. Players nowadays, if another player punched another player on this team, you either got look at what happened with Nico and
Portis. You got to trade one of them.
You got to trade one of them at that point. They were able to work it out and win titles afterwards, bro. And then Steve Kerr said it helped our relationship. Shout out to Steve Kerr, bro.
I think the difference there is that the player doing the punching is one of the best players of all time.
Not one of.
Yeah, the best player of all time. Yeah. So it makes a big difference. Yeah, I mean, next on my list, man, you gotta give an honorable mention to Luol Deng, brother.
Oh, come with it, brother.
Luol Deng, brother. Who in his time in the NBA was not only one of the best defenders in the NBA, but was one of the few people that actually did a good job on guys like LeBron James, that actually did a good job on guys like Carmelo Anthony.
Yeah.
That night he did get a game winner dropped on him by Melo. Melo dropped him off.
But Melo had to work for that, though.
Melo had to work. It was a tough shot, but that was a Christmas Day one, wasn't it? That was a tough day.
Think so,
that was a tough day, yeah. But no, Luol Deng was absolutely worked himself into a really nice player. Got himself up to, I believe, 18 points a game at one point. Was literally Tom Thibodeau's defense until the Bulls training staff tried to kill him. So and gave Jimmy Butler a spot that could jump in there. But man, Luol Deng to me, man, was a probably, you could argue Luol Deng is a top 5 role player in Chicago Bulls history.
Oh, for sure. Several seasons of averaging like 18, 17, and 7, 8, and like 3 assists. Like, yes, he was a great role player for the Chicago Bulls. Absolutely. I don't think if anybody does try to argue that, they need to watch more basketball. Luol Deng was that guy, man. Yeah. Like I remember some of the defensive games that Luol Deng had against players at that time. Like, and it was just like it was almost masterful watching the way that he defended people, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember seeing like Brian. It was literally the moment where I was like, oh, he's really good at defense. Like Brian drove to the bucket and Lou just jumped in front of him, used his wingspan, and Brian like turned and had to back out. And this wasn't like jump shooting, fade away, 3-pointer, look at the palm, LeBron. This was like, I'm gonna go through you, you're gonna die, and then I'm gonna dunk on you.
And Lou
and Lou was like turning them in different directions. I was like, "What's happening right now?"
Yeah. Lou's frustrated a lot. And shout out to Luol Deng, who was still getting paid by the Lakers up until this summer. That's wild.
Bro, talk about get your bag, brother. When I tell you that is the funniest thing in the world to me.
That's crazy, bro.
I mean, here's the question, right? Here's the question before we get out of here. Who's the best out of all of them?
Oh, well, the one that I haven't named yet. Dennis Rodman is the best Chicago Bulls role player of all time.
So wait a minute. Hold on. Run this back for me. Dennis Rodman's a role player.
Yes.
But Joakim Noah's not?
No, because Dennis Rodman got inserted into the team with 2 greatest players of all time. And guess what? While Phil Jackson wasn't running no offense through Dennis Rodman. That just didn't happen. Nothing got ran through Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was able to come in and do his thing and maximize that. But like I said, the one thing that changed it between Joakim Noah and Dennis Rodman for me was that they ran things through Joakim Noah, bro. Everything with defense was funneled to Joakim Noah because guess what? Tom Thibodeau's defensive scheme was Joakim Noah. If Joe wasn't on that team, bro, he still would have had a tough defensive team.
It was Luol Deng, and then they tried to kill him. Like it was Luol Deng. Like, let's not get it twisted. The scheme was Luol. Down low now, I give you Joe, but bro, like, I mean, it's also right. Like Dennis, also, like you said, he played with 2 of the greatest players of all time.
Yeah.
When Scotty went out, Dennis absolutely was more involved in the offense and on the defensive end.
So was Tony, though. Let's be clear.
So was Tony, 100%, right? But you
we didn't mention on the list who needs to be added to the list.
You're still putting like, I don't know, bro. Dennis Rodman that's a tough sell for me, brother. Like,
hey, bro,
you're talking about one of the best defenders in NBA history.
Absolutely.
That's a tough sell for me, dog.
Absolutely. And guess what? Dennis Rodman never got MVP votes.
Yeah, because there was a dude named Michael Jeffrey Jordan
he went
next to him getting all of them.
Joakim Noah could have played with Coby White. I'm sorry, not Dennis Rodman could have played with Coby White. He wouldn't got any MVP votes.
Hold up now. He might. We sure about that? Are we sure about that?
We are sure about that.
I feel like Detroit Dennis probably got some MVP.
But we're talking about Bulls role players on the Chicago. Now, for his career, Dennis Rodman absolutely is not a role player for his career. I'm talking about just in his time in the Chicago Bulls, he was a role player.
That's a tough sell.
That's fine, bro. Let us know down below. You guys know when me and Pat don't.
Because you immediately started off with the dude that was 12 and 11 saying he's not a role player.
He was not a role player, but I qualified that by answering why. Tom Thibodeau's scheme was Joakim Noah. It was not Luol Deng. It was Joakim Noah, bro. Go and look at the way that Tom Thibodeau's defensive scheme was made to do was based off what Joakim Noah's versatility. Joakim Noah being able to rotate on guards, Joakim Noah patrolling the lane down low, Joakim Noah's passing on offense. A lot was built around what Joakim Noah was able to do as far as Tom Thibodeau's system being what it was.
But it was built around it because of necessity as well.
No, it was not, bro. Because we just talked about it. Luol Deng was there was passers all on this team. You didn't have to run it through your big. That made it more versatile by being able to run it. It was not through necessity.
All right, let us know in the comments below. That's a tough sell, bro.
We're gonna be watching the comments today.
This might be the most interesting conversation we've had on Locked On Bulls.
Hey, listen, we got to do it. Go ahead, brother. Go ahead, close this out. Let's get this
going.
We
follow me on everything at Pat the Designer. Appreciate y'all for showing love, and also follow us both on everything at Locked On Bulls.
Make sure y'all follow Big Yellow. He needs more followers, by the way. Y'all make sure y'all go follow Big Yellow.
I'm beating you.
You don't have more followers than me. You out your mind, brother. Come on now, brother. You will never have more followers than the red bearded assassin, my brother. Come on, fam.
First off, I got more subscribers than you. So technically, I got more followers.
No, that is not the same, bro. No.
That's not the same.
No, that's not the same. Because technically, even with your more subscribers, we get the same number of views. If not, I get more than you. So what we talking about here, brother? What we talking about?
What we talking about? Here we go.
All right, y'all can follow me at CEO Haize, the CEO Haize. Thank you so much for tuning in and making Locked On Bulls your first listen every day. Now, for your second listen, go and check on Locked On NBA, where the Locked On analysts break down everything from start to finish with the NBA, all the latest news, rumors, developments, everything. They can be found wherever you get your podcast. But for Pat the Designer, I'm Haize. This is Locked On Bulls, and we out. Peace, y'all.
Stay safe out there, Chicago.